Anytime you can make a pizza like this at home, it's a good day. Friends of pizza, welcome to Weekend Warrior Pizza. Today I'm going to show you my favorite style of pizza, which is the New York style. And this is about the dough more than it is anything else. There's a lot of different toppings and sauces you can use, but the most important thing is the dough. And this is from my no-knead dough recipe series, so you don't need an expensive mixer, you don't need to know how to knead dough. You're going to let science do the work, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about the New York slice. What I love about it is it has a thin crust, not quite as thin as a Neapolitan, but it's thin, and it's also not cracker thin. It's kind of right in the middle. Maybe the very tip will have a little flop to it, and it's very much a walk and talk slice of pizza. The outer crust should have some nice browning on it. I like mine well done, so almost to the point of char, but that's entirely up to you. I'm gonna be cooking mine in my Gosney dome. Ideally, you're looking for a temperature around 500 to 550 degrees. And just like your home oven in your kitchen, I have to let this preheat. So this is gonna take about a half an hour to get it where I want it. So while that's preheating, let me show you how I made the dough a couple days ago. We have 6 simple ingredients here to make this New York style dough. For the water, this is room temperature, just shy of 2 cups, roughly 415 grams of water. We're gonna pour this in the same container that this is going to proof in overnight. 1.5 grams of instant dry yeast. 15 grams of Diastatic malt powder. This is gonna help give it that dark appearance when it bakes, that classic New York look. 585 grams of bread flour. Just shy of 4 cups, I believe. 12 grams of fine sea salt. And 20 grams of olive oil. And the beauty of this no-knead method is we just have to bring it together to a homogenous mass, which means we're going to make sure that all of the dry ingredients get fully hydrated here. And we'll bring it to a ball, which will take just a couple minutes. Okay, so we're pretty close here. I always get as much off of my hand as I can and back into the mix. If you don't, if you're weighing your dough balls at the end, this will definitely throw you off by several grams. So get it all back in, as much of it as you can. Then I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil spray, just lightly coat the container, a little bit on the lid. And this is going to sit at room temperature, covered, for about the next 16 hours. And I'll come back tomorrow to show you what to do next. And here we are the next morning. This is actually 18 hours later. I let it go a couple extra hours. Let's take a look. Very nice. Nice and bubbly. It did its thing. So what I'm gonna do is just flip this guy over and let gravity do the work. Give it a minute or so, it'll all fall out onto the countertop. And let's see how we did here. Just beautiful. Look at all those little bubbles. And so what we're gonna do is get this into a ball first. I know it's gonna be just over 1,000 grams. It's like 1,020 grams. And we're going to divide this into 3, but you could divide it into 4 if you want, or however many pizzas you would like. I think 3 is going to give you 3 14 to 16 inch pieces, and it'll weigh somewhere around 340 grams. But you can see how nice this is. And it did it all by itself. And here we are, so roughly 340 grams. We're gonna go ahead and ball this up. I like to push up and in, make a real nice tight exterior. Then I pinch, And I roll. And it goes into a lightly oiled individual dough ball proofing container. I'll have a link in the description for these. They're fantastic. Lid goes on, and these are going to cold proof overnight in the refrigerator for about 24 hours. If you wanted to do it now, same day, I would put it in the container, leave it out at room temperature for about 3 hours. But I believe that the cold proofing does give you better baking results. So that's how we make the dough. And now that you know how I made the dough, let's throw together a quick pizza. So we're gonna do a pepperoni. This is finely ground semolina in a old Parmesan cheese container. Here's my dough ball. Took it out of the refrigerator about 2 hours ago. And we'll get some more flour on top. This is a very nice, soft dough that I think you'll enjoy working with. So what I'm going to do is just gently form the outer crust. And now I'll push out. Flip it over. And we'll push out again. Flip it over, quarter turn. Push out. And one more time. Flip it over and go the other way. This will stretch up to 14 inches. That's how big this peel is. That's about how big I'll go. And you got a couple ways you can do it. Put your hand right here on the inside of the rim. Take your fingers underneath so that you're not crushing the rim on that side. And you can just stretch and pull. I like to go to my wrist, turn and spin, stretch, pull. It's just very easy. Doesn't take much. You could also lift it up in the air if you wanted. I'll keep it down here so you can see it. And we're getting pretty close. Okay, next is our tomato sauce. You want between 6 to 8 ounces. If you go too much, it's just going to be a soggy mess. Too little, it's not going to have the right flavor. And that's looking pretty good right there. Okay, now I'm going to add some dried oregano. Okay, now this is store-bought shredded pizza cheese. If you want to shred it yourself, you can. I do that quite a bit. All right, and now for a few pieces of pepperoni. All right, let's go put it in the oven. This thing wants to run hot. It wants to run 850, 900 degrees. Cooks a perfect Neapolitan pizza every time. New York style needs about 500 to 550. And so what I've done is preheated this. I let it get up to about 700. Let the temperature fall to about 500. We're gonna launch the pizza. Let's get it in there. Shut off the heat. Close the door. If you think about like a New York pizzeria, they've got a big deck oven. They're not running a big flame over top of the pizza. They're just running somewhere around 500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what I'm doing right now. This will hold. This oven is pretty well insulated. I'm gonna let this go for about 4 minutes and then we're gonna come back and give it a turn. And it's been about 4 minutes. So what we're gonna do is take the door off. Pizza comes out. Okay, so we've par cooked it at this point. It's gonna come out. I'm gonna put it on the side for a second. And now we're gonna crank this guy back up. And the reason I went through all that is because if I would have just put this in and let that flame run, the top would have burned, the cheese would have been burnt, the pepperoni would have burned, and the bottom would have been undercooked. And there's nothing worse than undercooked pizza. So what I did is I allowed the bottom to cook by itself draw out the heat from the stone and crisp up a little bit. It's not fully cooked yet, but now what we're gonna do is get this back up to about 700 degrees. It'll just take a couple minutes, and then we're gonna finish it off like a regular pizza. Okay, and in just a matter of minutes, we are up to 700 ambient temperature. I'm gonna turn the flame to low. Let's launch this guy back in there. It's a little too close to that flame for my liking, so just move them right there. And from here, I'm going to rotate it 3 times so that we get all 4 sides. It'll probably take a minute per side to get the level of browning that I'm looking for. Just took it out of the oven. Nice and a crunchy crust. Here we go. Looking good, smelling good. Let me get a bite of the crust. It's awesome. And to think that was a no-knead, minimal effort dough recipe. It turned out perfect. And hey, this is only my 4th video right now. Brand new channel that I've started, dedicated to pizza. Please give it a like, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and check out one of these videos right there. These are my no-knead Neapolitan recipes. And I'm gonna keep eating this pizza.